I'm working on some media stuff regarding a case in New York, a Second Amendment case called Gazzola versus Hochul. I'm not sure if you guys are familiar with it. What's happening in New York? I just got off the phone with the lead attorney, the prosecuting attorney on the case. And what New York is doing, what Hochul's doing, is they're passing this. They passed this law that's going to start on September 13th. That's going to require background checks for ammunition. But it's also basically what they're doing is they're taking the ammunition background checks and the firearm background checks in-house in the state of New York. They're taking it away from the NICS system. So they're taking it away from federal. And now at the federal level, we have protections that protect gun owners from a gun registry. So the idea here is they're taking the ability to do the background checks and bringing it home to New York. The state police department is going to be controlling it. And ultimately, our big fear is that their intent is to create a background or a registry of New York State gun owners. The attorney, her name is Paloma. I don't know if you guys ever heard of Paloma from 2A Patriots. She just got off the phone with her. I got a few bits of information on this case. The law goes into effect on the 13th. So what they're trying to do is get everybody rallied. And there's going to be a big rally down in Kingston, New York. They're hoping for a preliminary injunction at the Second Circuit Court. What's happening is it's a case called Gazzola versus Hochul. The lawsuit was emergency motion was filed August 29th, 23 to the Second Circuit Court of Appeals in Manhattan, seeking an immediate injunction to stop the governor and the New York State Police from their intended takeover of the firearm background check, the launch of the ammunition background check system, and the investigation of federally licensed dealers, firearm dealers through the NYSP Joint Terrorism Task Force. And Hochul has made it clear that she will use a state background check system to create a gun owners registry, the first of its kind in the history of this nation. The attorney and plaintiffs are asking citizens to stand in solidarity with their local FFLs by firing a single shot at their local rod and gun club and ranges to create a shot heard round the state on the same day at high noon. This strike-and shoot is unprecedented in the history of our country. This is our Boston Tea Party.
Dan, I got a question. So if I'm remembering the name correctly, isn't the attorney Paloma, wasn't she involved as one of the leads in the lawsuits that went to the Supreme Court against the New York SAFE Act, which did result in having several statutes of that being removed?
Yes, I'm pretty sure you're right, Michael. I'm pretty sure she did.
So that's good. We know she's been successful, at least in part, in fighting against New York State and these kinds of issues. There's another aspect of this that really annoys me that doesn't get talked about too much. And maybe, Dan, you may have addressed this with your audiences and others around the state, but this is like a double kick in the ass. Not only are they trying to create a registry, which is now going to increase the number of hurdles that people have to jump across, imposing itself against the Second Amendment. But the second thing that is absolutely a consequence of this, and that's important to understand, is when they try and implement this, they're going to slow walk everything.
Oh, of course.
They're going to create a massive bottleneck. The State Department, the state police of New York can't handle the workload they have already. The red flag laws already have swamped all of the state police and the judicial departments on top of the regular cases they've had. Now you're going to add another bureaucratic process that they don't have the manpower for, that they don't have the computer power, the files, they don't have the systems, the infrastructure for this, which means it's going to inherently and absolutely restrict the number of people who can legally get ammunition for their firearms. And that means for women that they're going to be endangered because they can't train, they can't defend themselves. It means that this is racial as well, because blacks and minorities are going to be denied the ability to do the same thing other groups are doing because of the disproportion of money. Money is time. It's going to disproportionately affect the poor, and that means minorities in New York State. Where's the ACLU? Why aren't they jumping in on this?
Exactly.
You can't do this.
Yeah, exactly. Let me address a couple of things Michael said. Michael, you nailed it. Here's right now the way it is. The way it stands right now, they don't even have the infrastructure for the FFLs to sign up to this new program yet. So the FFLs haven't been able to apply to deal under this new policy, let alone the infrastructure to do the actual background checks. So what's going to happen on the 13th of September is nothing will be in place and everything will come to a grinding halt. That means gun purchases and ammo purchases will halt on September 13th if we don't get some sort of stay, preliminary injunction, or something like that on this thing. And that's what the attorneys are fighting for. And one more thing I just want to add real quick.
Yep.
You mentioned red flag laws.
Yes.
And it's so important because they're going to use this background, this registry. I call it a background. It's really a registry. They're going to use the registry in conjunction with the New York State red flag law, where police and just about anybody can accuse you of being a risk, and your guns can be confiscated without due process. But before they can be confiscated under red flag laws, they need to know where they're located, which is why this registry is so important.
Exactly.
Red flag laws are insidious and evil and ineffective. Utterly, absolutely ineffective.
Also, another thing they don't do is if the person is supposedly a risk to society, they leave the person in the house. They don't do anything with the person. They just take the guns.
If a person is such a danger to society that they are not allowed to have a firearm, why the hell are they still in society?
Same reason why there's 140 known terrorists, known or suspected terrorists that walked across the southern border, caught by Secretary Mayorkas and agents at the southern border, and they were released into America, according to his testimony to Darrell Issa in a congressional hearing 3 weeks ago. 140, an increase of 46 times the number of terrorist threats entering into America in the year 2000, 43% more than 2022 alone. 140 possible 9/11s running around in America right now with a summons to show up in court in 3 years.
This is No Soundbites Allowed, and I am your host, Michael Wos. Dragging into Southern Tier, I'm happy to be here with you today.
Eric Holder, the Attorney General of the United States, admitted he has not read the Arizona immigration law. I know it is a difficult task to stand up in front of our peers and say to Congress and say that Congress has failed to listen to voters.
You here at CPAC said yes to President Donald Trump in 2016, and I know you're going to say yes to
She was very aware that she had the flag in her hands and that the flag was dragging on the ground. That is a intentional action. She knows what she is doing. She then drops the flag. Understand the logic, and we see this in social media on a regular basis, and it's something that Newsweek decided not to tell you about. Representative Sheila Jackson Lee, a representative in Congress who is writing laws to deny American citizens their rights, has no idea what she's talking about.
And they are against the vaccine mandate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, you support that?
Last time I checked, there were not a lot of planes crashing into each other at airports, right? You can meet a very, very stringent accuracy rate when it's important, when it matters, like in federal elections.
The quote from Joe Biden, where he is admitting that he is willing to lie to the American people.